So good morning, everyone. On behalf of Linda Jeffrey, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, I would like to extend the Ontario government's welcome to all delegates here at this 2013 Human Services Integration Policy Conference. I know that if the Minister were here herself, she would want to begin by applauding all of you and Ontario's entire network of dedicated service managers and community leaders in human services. You help deliver critical human services needed by individuals and families across our province. But as ministry staff, we also share your vision. We see the intrinsic link between providing effective housing and homelessness services and the achievement of healthy, sustainable communities. And indeed, we share your interest in creating more seamless linkages across the delivery of various human services as a way of providing better client service and improving outcomes for people. Our goal is to work with you and to help enable you to find effective local solutions to local challenges. So I too think there's been some remarkable progress over the last decade. Under the PMFSDR, we've heard a lot about that already this morning. I think you're going to be hearing a lot more. Ontario has uploaded and continues to upload many of the costs that had been previously borne by municipalities, including social assistance benefits. But I think it's also very important to note, as Russ did, that it was during that process that we established a different way of working together. And we had the service delivery accountability table as one of those tables where we brought together a range of senior officials from across a range of different ministries and senior officials from a range of municipalities, and we created a safe place where we could explore the issues and the possibilities and create a sense of what could be that could make things better for people in Ontario. It was at that table that we first talked about consolidating housing and homelessness programs as a way to improve the effectiveness of government programs and to improve your ability to improve outcomes for people. And we made the commitment to start with consolidating homelessness programs. We had other fora for getting advice from service managers, and with that advice, we consolidated the 5 homelessness programs across 2 ministries into one new program to give service managers more flexibility to help individuals and families who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. So the aim in creating CHIPI, or the Community Homelessness Prevention Initiative, is to create the conditions for the development of local programs and tools that are effective and sustainable. Another recent development that also traces its origins back to that PMFSDR Service Delivery Accountability Table is the requirement to establish long-term housing and homelessness plans. These plans, which are due to be in place for the beginning of 2014, and gosh, that is not very far away, are an important basis for the more flexible program approach we've launched through CHIPI, and indeed the approach we've taken to the Investment in Affordable Housing program as well. So by having comprehensive long-term plans which have engaged the broad community and thought about the range of issues affecting housing and homelessness in your communities, you're able to identify through that process priorities that can then inform your choices under the more flexible programmatic approach we've taken. And so we couldn't take that more flexible approach to programs if we couldn't count on there being a strong, integrated community planning process in place. We've been really excited to review the plans as they've been coming in over the past months, and even more excited by the ideas that have been generated in the plans. And as I've heard from many of you, what's also been developed through the collaborative planning process in your communities. I've heard from many of you that process, even though you thought you had, and you did have great partnerships and connections with various organizations in the community, that coming together around the creation of a comprehensive long-term plan for housing and homelessness, I've heard from many of you, has actually created new opportunities for partnership, created new relationships in the community that will have other possible potential positive impacts going forward. Now, Russ spoke about the vision in PMFSDR for more integrated human services and suggested that the promise of that vision is perhaps not fully fulfilled at the provincial level, and I'd acknowledge that. But I do want to assure you that we do continue to work hard at the provincial level to work across our silos. We're just doing a little bit of restructuring within my division and changing up the way we're organizing staff. And I say to my staff, it doesn't matter how we organize ourselves, because, you know, they're a bit resistant to change, right? The program branch has been organized around programs, and now we're going to be organized around geographic regions. And it's, you know, it's a tough change process for staff. But I said, no matter how we organize ourselves, we will create silos. When we restructure, we just kind of break down the silos we've had, and inevitably we create new ones. And our challenge is to figure out how to work across whatever those silos are. Certainly over the years 2011, 2012, we at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing worked particularly closely with the Ministry of Community and Social Services around the creation of CHIPPY, because we in fact were taking on 4 former programs that were theirs, and the resources that went along with that, and the responsibility that they had had for homelessness, which we now have. So that required us to really work very effectively, and created some really strong relationships. In fact, such strong relationships that I hired away one of their directors. Carol Latimer now works with us. But that actually speaks to, as we break down some of our barriers, we see more flow of staff between the human service ministries at the provincial level. And we've continued those close working relationships as well with Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, Children and Youth Services, the Senior Secretary, etc. You may be interested in one example I can share with you, that our ministry, Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care recently convened the first in a series of meetings between senior representatives of service managers and LHINs, Local Health Integration Networks. And these meetings are a first step in working towards more systematic and sustainable working relationships at the local level by us as the province, at 2 ministries coming together and sitting with representatives from service managers and LHINs. So to close, I wanted to acknowledge that we are working on these challenges together, or these exciting opportunities together in very challenging economic times. And as dedicated public servants, we do our best to maximize what we can achieve within the resources that are available. In these challenging times, the Premier and Minister Jeffrey have pledged to maintain the province's investments in housing. And just as Russ spoke to the need for a commitment from the federal government, I know that if Minister Jeffrey would hear, she would also speak passionately about that same issue. I know that AMO, the City of Toronto, and the province are very well aligned in the desire to see a strong federal partner on an ongoing basis. And the minister takes every opportunity she can to call on the federal government to make a long-term financial commitment to housing. So I think I'll end there and just say that as we move forward together, we at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing look forward to our continued partnership both with OMSSA as well as with you as individual service managers, and with AMO as the organization which represents municipalities. I wish you a very successful conference, and I thank you very much for your time.